welcome to another episode of Female Friday, where you can't be what you can't see. Today, I feel like we've got a little bit of US royalty and a godmother of regional anesthesia to interview. I'd like to introduce Meg Rosenblatt. Meg, we're going to start. What's your name? Where'd you come from originally? And where are you currently working?
I'm Meg Rosenblatt. I am from New York City, then suburbia, but I've been back in New York City for the last 35 plus years. And I currently work at Mount Sinai, Morningside, and West hospitals, where I am the site chair. Those hospitals may be better known to you as St. Luke's Roosevelt, but everything got renamed in the conglomeration of my healthcare system.
Okay, I've heard of Mount Sinai. So I guess the question is, what attracted you to regional anesthesia of all things?
I am really old, Becky, and I came of age at the time where anesthesiology residency went from 1 year of clinical work in the United States and then 2 years of anesthesia to 1 year of a clinical rotation and 3 years. And nobody had really thought of what the curriculum of the third year needed to be. So basically, we were challenged to find our own pathway. And I decided I was going to be an OB anesthesiologist because I love needles and I love making patients happy. And that seemed like the fastest route. And then all of us have shower epiphanies because that's where great ideas come from. And I thought, why put needles in people that want them? I want to put them in people that don't. And I tossed the option of a year of regional anesthesia to the powers that be in my institution. And they laughed at me. And they said, if this is how you want to do it, that's one less thing we need to worry about. And they sent me off with a nerve stimulator, a purple pen, and an atlas. And that's how I spent my last year of anesthesia residency.
Yeah, because I can imagine back in the day you were just sticking needles with stimulators and
Every patient looked like they got shot in the neck with buckshot.
really.
Well, you weren't able to, realign your needle because you didn't know what you were aiming for. You pulled it out and you started again. So,
Wow.
yeah, the
Wow. I
wild,
can't
wild west.
imagine. I just can't imagine not being without my ultrasound. Makes me
You know what
sound like a
makes
bit of a wuss.
Imagine what our intraclavicular blocks look like. You see that artery right where you put the needle. It was Geyser City.
I know, and I'm scared at doing them with the ultrasound. But never mind, that's another topic. So I guess my question to you, you said that you would have done obstetrics if you had a different vision of anesthetics. What might you have done if you weren't an anaesthetist?
I didn't start out wanting to be an anesthetist. I
An
started out
anesthesiologist.
I started out wanting to be a urogynecologist in the
Wow.
1980s. There was no specialty called urogynecology. I interviewed for urology. You know what was not a smart thing to do in 1985?
Not
Be
for
a
a
woman
woman. Yeah.
interviewing for urology.
Wow. So what made
So
you not be a urologist? How
the
did you get
interview
there?
the interview process, I am an assertive woman. I did not want to have to be an aggressive woman and justify myself through all of my training. And clearly, it wasn't, they were not ready for a woman in that specialty. Um, and while I was trying to figure out what to do, I had an anesthesiology rotation and found that for a control freak like me,
It was a good
perfect.
fit. Oh my word. It's funny when you interview people and you talk to people how many people almost got into anesthetics by accident. Like just it suits their personality or the right door opened or I can't
Everything
imagine you as a
happens for a
urologist.
reason.
It does. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. So, what's your favorite part of the job?
I, I'm in a weird place because I come to work because I love the people I work with.
Okay, a
I
good bunch.
also still, after all this time, when that surgeon makes an incision and the patient doesn't move, I still get a little tingle of excitement.
I'm glad you still do, because I still do as well, and I'm wondering if that wears off. I also get a little panic of horror that I'm like, do I trust my block? But I'm hoping as experience comes, that will minimise
If you
slightly.
leave the LMA within hand's reach, you don't need it. It's when you
Yeah,
don't
it's
leave the
true.
LMA out.
You've always got propofol and a plan B, haven't you? So I'm guessing, as an eminent regional anaesthetist, you have a favourite block. If you don't have a favourite block, you can tell us about your favourite dinosaur.
Um, I always love a good pop block.
Oh, me too.
I love when your nerve separates and it looks like Mickey Mouse, or it looks like a heart, or you can see a perfect place to put a needle and you know there's not nerve there, but you know your block's going to work. And then you turn your probe parallel to the nerve and you see that it's circumferentially bathed in the local anesthesia you placed. I'm happy.
It's quite beautiful. Right, we're going to have 1 minute of fun now, going on to the block break. Let me get your questions. As I said, they're going to be questions all about you and what makes you tick. So, are you ready, Meg?
Absolutely.
Okay, tell me something that you're really bad at
In medicine or in life?
in life.
The first thing I thought about was placing NG tubes. So, I'm not thinking about life.
Yeah,
What am I really bad about? Cleaning bathrooms.
okay. And what animal best represents you?
You're asking hard questions. What's an
Yeah,
animal that roars but is really underneath very shy?
I don't know. You could have a lion.
Then I'd be lying.
Okay.
Um,
And if you could travel anywhere in the world, cost and time aside, where would you go?
Unfortunately, all the places in the world that I need to go are not on my academic calendar. So once
Go
I'm
for a
not
holiday.
beholden to all of my responsibilities, I need to go to Vietnam and Cambodia, and
Both
then on to India.
amazing places. Couch potato or gym bunny?
Couch potato who walks to work for 45 minutes every morning so I get my steps in, but don't like to sweat.
And when last one, are you a coffee or a tea lady?
Neither.
Oh,
Diet
okay.
Pepsi. It doesn't smell in your mask. It keeps you going all day. I don't like coffee breath. I never.
Not Diet Coke. Pepsi
Diet
over
Coke,
Coke?
Diet Coke in a can, Diet Pepsi in a bottle.
Wow. Is there a difference?
Yes.
Okay, I need to do a randomized control trial. I've never known that you can taste the difference between Diet Pepsi and Diet Coke, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think there was a huge difference from cans to bottles.
The metal sort of gets away from the sweetness of the Diet Coke.
Okay, right, moving back to the serious questions. So you've talked about ambitions of being a urologist. Tell us a little bit about your career path. How did you get from medical school to being some super duper world female boss in regional anesthesia?
I always tell people that when you leave your residency, you need to be a Jack Russell Terrier. You need to raise your hand first, jump higher, and do everything. Because if I ended up where I thought I would end up in anesthesiology, I would be a very unhappy program director who was an expert in patient blood management. I mean, that's really where I started, but just through other activities and things that I tried, I found there were other things I enjoyed even more. So I encourage everybody who's asking themselves how to get from A to B to do everything they want to do and then sit down with someone that they consider a mentor who will give you permission to give up the things you don't like, because it's very hard to learn to give up the things you don't like. And newsflash, don't give them up. Give them to somebody else and become a mentor yourself.
Okay. And talking of mentorship, there's a lot of evidence to say that women find it difficult to find mentors. Have you had some standout mentors in your career?
There are several things that I get asked by people who are much younger than I am that just didn't exist when we were growing up. There was no mentorship, there was no burnout. We just put our heads down and figured it out now. There have been women who, right now, who I'm going to call out Beverly Phillip, who was the president of the ASA and who is still in her, I'm going to say the I like to call it the third trimester of our careers, but
Yeah.
still advocating, still being a great representative for our society, and someone who I can call to bounce some things off on. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people who I am very, very fortunate who call me because I love to be able to micromanage other people's lives.
I
So
love it. I'll
hopefully,
put you on speed dial.
please
Um,
do. And I just hope that your generation has enough people taking up the mantle of our generation that no woman can find their perfect mentor in our session.
I think there is a lot to say for women finding mentorship. We've just released a study looking at what picks a mentor, you know, what psychosocial factors. And it'd be interesting to see if there's a gender discrepancy because I think the studies have said that women are much less likely to find that support, which I find quite sad.
I'm gonna disagree a little bit with you. I think that there is mentorship everywhere if you look for what you need. What there isn't is sponsorship. What we're missing
Yes,
is the women
different things.
in the spaces where they have the gravitas and the experience to do that. And I try to do that whenever I can, pull people, push people to where they need to go, not pull them along by only mentoring them. And again, how lucky am I to be able to do that? I just, because
It's a
it makes me
privilege.
feel so good.
And it's about paying one forward, isn't it?
All the
They're,
time.
you've climbed a ladder, you've got to somewhere, don't pull it up. Try and bring people with you rather than just sitting there on your own. Okay, talking from mentorship, what do you think your biggest career struggle's been?
Honestly, learning the HR part of leadership.
Okay.
You did not expect that answer.
I don't know, HR can be tricky.
HR is very tricky. And the other thing that I found that very few people talk about is I find that now that I'm the chair of a department, my relationship with residents has changed because they're afraid of me, which seems ridiculous. I tell this story, but I will say to a resident, we're doing blocks. You don't need to set up the room like we're doing a liver transplant. I don't like environmental waste. The greening of our operating rooms is something that we're all working on now. And I'll get into the operating room, and the room will be set up perfectly for a knee scope or a wrist fracture or something in a healthy ASA 1 or 2 patients. And then I will send the residents on a break and I'll change an IV bag. And under the IV bags, the rest of the liver transplant setup because they're
Oh,
afraid that I'm going to ask them for something and they're not going to be ready. And they don't realize that, like, I don't. So that
I
the
know.
other hardest part of the struggle is just
I get
making
that
residents
though. I get
comfortable.
that.
What?
There's reverence, isn't there? There's like if I was walking into theatre with you, I'd probably do the same thing. You're about to do a block with Meg Rosenblatt. There's no messing around here.
But you don't understand. The messing around is the part I was the best at.
Yeah.
So you know what? It's fine as long as they feel like they've learned something. And I always try to make sure that not only have they learned something, but that they get timely evaluation and feedback so that they have actionable activities that they can work on. I feel like I've done something for them. And when they're done with their, drink that they clearly run to when they're done with me, they feel like they had a good and a productive day.
That's good. That's a sign of a very good educator, if I do say so. Now, have you ever had any real career failures? Because you're pretty up there now. Bit of a superstar. Is there anything that's gone particularly wrong for you? To give us all a bit of encouragement.
I've had a lot that I really don't want to admit to. And most of it is my own failing because I don't suffer fools lightly, and there's very little time between my brain and my mouth.
Okay.
So there are things that I would like to have handled in a more mature fashion when things were not going my way.
Okay. And what do you think your biggest career achievement was? You've had a few.
My biggest career achievement has been, as we were talking about, turning an accident into a career that has allowed me to pay it forward. Nobody has a successful academic career on a case report except me. And I think that that was a sign of that it's my job to teach people how to have successful academic careers.
Okay.
I'm very grateful every day for all the happenstance that has brought me to here.
And what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given, either in your career or in your life?
This came from Dr. Joel Kaplan, who was my very, very first chair, who is the author of the definitive cardiac anesthesia textbook. And we were talking an annual review, and he said, what do you, where do you want to be next year, and how do I help you get there? Which is a sentence I have stolen and used a billion times. But I said, I want to be like so-and-so. And he said to me, you can never get ahead doing what somebody else has done. You need to chart your own path.
Oh, I
And
like it.
that's what I've taken, both those sentences, and that's how I start when I need to mentor somebody. Where do you want to be in a year? How can I get you there? And don't tell me you want to be just like somebody else. Why are you special, deserving, and the best you can be?
Walk your own path. And what advice would you give women in regional anaesthesia coming up behind you?
Again, to have patience, to be willing to volunteer to do things that you may not be in your comfort zone. And then when you do things, do them in a timely manner. Let somebody check your work, because nobody wants to see typos, spelling, and stuff that looks like toilet paper. Like, let the people who are mentoring you preview what you're doing. So do it quickly or timely, do it with forethought, and then follow through. And then again, after you've got all of this stuff on your plate, find somebody to sit with who'll pare it down for you, because they can see which things fit together to be that path that makes you unique.
Perfect. And finally, Meg, can you tell us something about yourself that we may not know?
I am panicking about becoming a grandma, which should happen right after the new year. I'm very excited,
It's
but
exciting.
but you know, when you're too close to a hospital, you have unrealistic worries about things that don't happen, except things that you've seen. So talk to me in February, and hopefully I'll have a better answer for you. But right now, I'm a little obsessed
It's
with
exciting. It's a
grandma.
big change, isn't it? Being a granny.
I'll let you know. But right now, literally, as I'm talking to you, this ultrasound showed that the baby is flipped into the right position. So I have one less thing to worry about. Let's hope
Perfect.
he or she stays there.
Meg, you have been absolutely wonderful. Thank you for joining us today.
I look forward to seeing you and meeting you in person someday.
It will happen.
But
It's just in the
I do
stars.
wear you and everything you've done for us proudly all the time, as do the women in my department.
Yeah, it's so lovely to think that we have now women everywhere who are just connecting together,
Becky, you are
supporting
a
each
remarkable
other.
woman for just doing this, and all of us are so
I'm a
grateful.
tired woman, Meg. I'm a tired woman.
I believe that that's the adjective that describes all of us.
Well, thank you very much, Meg. We'll end it there. Have a wonderful Christmas, and I hope
Thank
to
you very
see you
much. And
soon.
you too. Bye bye now.
Bye bye.